And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. So he arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you did call me. Then Eli perceived that the Lord had called the boy. Verse 9, Therefore Eli said to Samuel, Go lie down, and it shall be, if he calls you, that you must say, Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. One of the things we see here is the importance of discipleship. Eli may be that old lamp that was already going out, but there was still some residue of the understanding of the ways of God. This is also why in 1 Kings 13, when the young prophet said, God spoke to me, the old prophet came and said, Oh, an angel spoke to me. Because he understood it, that God sends his angels. And so that residual knowledge was still there. Eli still knew the way. He still knew the way of the prophets. He still knew how God speaks. And Eli perceived, it feels like God is calling this young man. And then he told him, when he calls again, this is how you should answer. Notice that God did not speak until Samuel answered. This is what we will see in the later verses. God did not speak until Samuel answered. One question popped up in my mind as I read through, and I was asking, why did Samuel keep going back to Eli? If you count, you would notice that it occurred, it was like 4 times. It was the 4th time that Samuel got it right. It was at the 3rd time that Eli now intervened and now said, no, it feels like God is calling this young man. Why did he keep going back? The first time it happened, I did not call you. He went and laid down again to sleep. He heard the Lord call him, Samuel. And then he came to Eli again, the 3rd time again. Did he not know the voice of Eli? He knew the voice of Eli. He had been living with Eli. His mother came to drop him in the house of Eli, to live with Eli and to be trained and to serve God. She dropped him as an offering to the Lord. What that tells me is that the voice that Samuel heard must have seemed familiar. It must have felt like the voice of Eli. If you're living with someone in your house and the person calls you, calls your name, calls you the first time, did you call me? I did not call you. Calls you the 2nd time, did you call me? I did not call you. Calls you the 3rd time, did you call me? I did not call you. For you to keep asking that question, then it will imply that the voice sounded familiar. The point here is simple. Many times, when we want to hear from God, when we seek to hear from God, when we desire to hear from God, we may have unrealistic expectations. God may begin from the simple things, from the mundane things, and you'll be like, no, I'm waiting to, you're like Elijah. The thunder comes, the lightning comes, all the great signs happen. And is God there? God is not there. You're waiting for a huge sign, something really, really grandiose to happen for you to understand that, oh yes, it is God speaking to me. God may not do that. The voice sounded familiar. It sounded like the voice of Eli. It is for this same reason that many times when God is now speaking to us in dreams and in visions, in dreams, there are times that in dreams I've seen my father in the Lord appear, or another father of the faith, and gives me an instruction, and I wake up knowing that it was God that spoke to me. God now uses a familiar face. There are times when I would be hearing the voice of God. God would be speaking to me, and the voice will sound like the voice of my father in the Lord, or it will sound like the voice of another general of the faith. And God uses, I've understood in my own experience, that God uses such voices that sound like those ones for specific reasons. But those reasons are not important right now. We're not going to that. But the point is this, that when God begins to speak to you, he may use the familiar things. He may use the familiar, his voice may sound familiar to you. You may see a vision, and then what you are seeing there, it could just be your kitchen pot. And you're like, why am I seeing my kitchen pot? This is in my kitchen. And then something's happened. Maybe water is boiling. Of course, if you read the Old Testament, you will see the boiling pots and things like that, what he means. God begins to use familiar things. Many times, God begins from the familiar things, from the known, and then he moves us into the unknown. And the journey of the prophetic, this is what God does many times.